Unit 3, Lesson 2-3. Here we go. Sales tax and tip. So New York State sales tax is 8.75%. And so it's probably one of the highest tax states in the United States. It's split into two different categories, a county tax, so Erie County for you guys, and a state tax, which is New York State. Sometimes they don't do one and they do the other. So some on your receipts or wherever you see it may say like 4.75% instead of an 8.75%. Also, food does not get taxed if it is healthy food. If you go to the store and you end up getting like pop and anything that's crappy, like chips, anything that you really like that's bad for you, they'll tax that. So sales tax is a percentage of the total amount spent at the store. This money goes to the government and is used to pay for state and local budget items, such as schools. So thank you for paying for our paychecks and everything that you guys need. So schools and roads. So anytime you see roads near you, the construction going on, that's your taxes are being used to make that happen. In some places, also for fire departments that are not voluntary fire departments. Again, depending on where you're living, depending on how much you're paying in taxes, Cheektowaga is very high because there's a lot of things that, you have access to that those taxes go towards. Many areas rely on sales tax to fund their budgets, so they are very serious about collecting all of the tax that they are owed. It can be a big amount of money or a small amount of money depending on how much you are spending. So if you're spending a couple bucks on a bag of chips, it could be some pennies. If you are spending a couple $100 on a computer, it would be really expensive, like a little bit higher, a lot of it higher. So that is for that slide. Example, I bought 3 shirts. Red shirt costs $12.58, green shirt $15.60, and the blue shirt costs $18.80. How much did everything ring up to at the register, including tax of 8.75%? Very similar to what we've been doing with discount. We're going to find the subtotal first. So we're going to add up that $12.58 and the $15.60 and the $18.80. We're going to find a subtotal. So our subtotal at that cash register should be $46.98. So again, like we have been doing with percent, anytime you're taking a percent of something, we're going to multiply. So we're going to take our subtotal and multiply by the tax percentage, but we're going to make sure that we move it to a decimal 2 places to the left, so 0.0875. Should be $4.11. It should make sense. If you're getting, some people do 0.875, that's 88% tax. If you're getting a number that's close to what you're spending, then that's not correct. Step 3, find the grand total. We're going to add our subtotal and our tax. We want to add it because, it's getting added to our bill. Let's go into that government. And we're going to get a grand total of $51.09. So that's what your receipt would look like. Sometimes if you go to different states, actually many times, if you go to different states, you do pay a different percent sales tax on it. If you go to Pennsylvania, you do not pay sales tax on clothing, which is very interesting. Grove City is a very popular place that people go shopping for clothing because you don't spend tax. So say you're going to Ohio, you get an item that costs $68.25 in the state of Ohio. Your tax is 4.56%, same process. Just be aware that it might be a different percentage. Same idea, multiplying both. And your tax is $3.11. It's not asking for just tax, it's asking for the entire thing. So we're going to add that up with our subtotal, $68.25 plus $3.11. $71.36.
All right, on to example 3. We are finding the total using the discount and tax. So before we calculate our tax, we're going to start with our discount. So we're starting with our PlayStation 4, which is $249 with a discount of 25%. So we are going to take that $249 and multiply it by 0.25 for our 25%.
You don't need the zero, just put it in there.
So after we do this, we will get a total discount of, so we got our discount of $62.25. And that is our discount. So we're going to subtract our discount off of our total price, or our previous price, $249 minus $62.25. This is going to get us down to $186.75, and that's the sales price for our PlayStation. Now we can go about finding the sales tax. So, same process. We're going to use the sales price though, not the original price. $249 doesn't matter anymore. We're going to stick with $186.75. Multiply that by 8.75%, which we're going to write as 0.0875. And we will calculate our tax. So our sales tax comes to $16.34. And now we'll go to the last box on our right to figure out our total. We're going to take our sales price of $186.75, and we're going to add our tax, which is $16.34, to get our grand total. Grand total of $203.09. Using this as your example, try the next two problems on your own.
All right, so tipping. Tipping is really important, especially for servers. They don't make minimum wage. They depend on their tips. So most people don't really know how to tip. Some people say double the tax, when in fact doubling the tax can cut people's tips in half. Some people don't know to tip on any services that's provided to you. So hair, nails, taxis, valet parking. At Delta Sonic, they don't make minimum wage when they're drying off your car, so they're able to rely on those tips as well. So tipping is actually really important. Just throwing down a $5 on a $100 meal is not adequate. So you are basing your tips off of the amount of food that is sold at that meal. So that's why waitresses and waiters or servers never really offer water, because it's free. So they want to offer you as much as they possibly can to raise your bill, and you hopefully will tip them more. So let's check this out. Your Aunt Susie wants to treat you to a feast at the Cheesecake Factory. You both share an order of mozzarella sticks as an appetizer for $4.79. She orders spaghetti and meatballs for $12.39. You order a burger and fries for $9.25. You both share a piece of strawberry cheesecake for dessert for $5.99. Find the total bill, including tax and tip. So again, the same kind of process, guys. We're going to find that subtotal first and add those three together. While Mr. Parisi is writing. It bothers me that I can't talk to you in person. I'm like flying through these lessons, both of us. It's tough because a lot of this course is through conversation. All right, so you're going to show them all added together, and then you should get a grand total of $32.42 before anything else is added on top of that. So let's find tax on that. So the tax for this, in this case, will be 4.75%. So take your subtotal, same thing we just talked about, multiplying by that 0.0475. And your tax will be, make sure you round it correctly, $1.54. And then when you actually tip on a service or on food that is being sold to you, you don't want to include tax in that, because the tax is not part of that food being sold. That tax is obviously going to the government, so don't tip on that. So take 18% of the subtotal, the amount of food that's sold to you, and you're going to get $5.84. Again, make sure you round that correctly, looking at that third place value after that decimal. And then your grand total is just pretty much adding everything together because it's added onto your bill. So $32.42 adding $1.54, $5.84. So your subtotal, your tax, your tip, and you should get a grand total of $39.80. Now, you're really not going to go tip $1, 2 quarters, and 4 pennies. So when you get, I was looking at tax. You're not going to tip $5, 3 quarters, a dime, a nickel, and 4 pennies. You actually would round it up to like $6.
So for question number 2, you need a haircut badly. You're seriously way overgrown. No more blaming it on COVID. Your stylist charges you $29 for a wash and a cut. And you look really good. You want to tip?
You look real good.
You want to tip your girl 20% of the subtotal. So how much will you leave her for a tip? So if it's $29, all we got to do is 29 times 0.20, and that gives us a tip of $5.80. Again, sometimes it's easier to just round up and say, hey, I'll tip you $6. So just something to think about.
Don't round, though, in the math. Like, actually do the math out.
For 2A, it says if the tax is 8.75% or 8.75%, how much will you pay in tax for the surface? Do not include the tip. So we're going to take our $29 times 0.0875 because we're moving that decimal point, and we're going to get a total for our tax, sales tax, of $2.54. And last but not least, we're going to find the total. So for the total, we're just adding everything up. We're going to start with my subtotal, which is $29. Take 29, we're going to add our tax, which is $2.54. And we're going to add our tip, which is $5.80. And when we do that, everything together, this haircut and wash is costing us $37.34. Alrighty, last question here. Situation number 3, your cab driver drives you around New York City. The total cost of the ride is $120.45.
Holy cow.
He was not friendly, and he drove like a maniac.
Sure.
You handed him a 12% tip, which might actually be a little high if he was not friendly and drove like a maniac. However, that's what you decided to do. How much was the ride, including the tip? So let's start with the tip. We'll take our subtotal of $120.45. Multiply it by our 12% tip, which is 0.12, and get a $14.45 tip. So, to find our total, all we're doing is adding that to that original price. So $120.45 plus $14.45, meaning the total cost of this crazy drive around New York City was $134.90. Yay, tips.
Okay, so word to the wise. Oh, also, guys, if you're at a restaurant, I don't know if you're going to hear this, but if you're at a restaurant and you have a bill and then you have a gift certificate, and you pay less, obviously, when you use a gift certificate, you need to tip on the actual bill because they're still serving you that same amount of food, that same cost of food. Okay, do the homework. Bye.